lifetime of the creator plus 50 years. In our system, it is 70 years. So there is the difference between them. What else? As we talked, that the copyright is for intellectually produced outcomes. Also, according to the Berne Convention, plus according to our codes as well, I said the computer programs are considered as a copyrightable material. It's not patentable material because they are written in that context. So they're being considered in that perspective. So şimdi we will be talking about unfair competition. Not actually competition law and unfair competition and the differences between them. Bir saniye sadece. Allah gene yağacak mı diye hepimizde bir korku. No, it won't today. Hani bilmiyorum, hava durumuna baktınız mı? Gerçi şemsiyelerin altında otururuz. That's maybe even better to have that option in here.
Hocam kantinde bir yağmur yağdığında da o şemsiyeler bayağı iyi koruyor.
Islanmadık diyorsunuz. So, we will be talking about competition law and...
Devrimdeyiz değil mi hocam?
Yok, devrimde değiliz. Onu derslerde söyledim. Devrim kapalı olduğu için okulun önünde buluşacağız. Kantinde. Bölümün önündeki kantinde. For the rest, did you get what I mean? We will be meeting in front of the faculty instead of devrim.
Hocam ne kadar sürecek?
Bilmem.
Ya ben şu anda yurttayım da hani çıkıp gelsem yetişir mi?
Yetişirsiniz canım. Hangi yurt? Çok uzakta, yurt şurası değil mi ya?
Ya evet.
Ertuğrul Bey. Ertuğrul Bey biraz önce buradaymışsınız.
Evet, evet.
Yani gittiğiniz süre, ışınlandığınız için oradan buraya geri ışınlanma süresinden hesap
Tamam
edebilirsiniz
hocam.
bence. Okey. Ya arkadaşlarınız ışınlandı dedi.
Biraz öyle oldu hocam.
Işınlanmışsınız, o zaman o süreyi hesaplarsınız. Ona göre biz hani oturup sadece yiyip kalkmayacağımızı düşünüyorum veya bir hani oturup sohbet ederiz. Ne bileyim 1 saat 2 saat.
Hocam hatta size bir teklifim var.
Tamam.
Final çıkışında da Kore restoranı mı?
Final çıkışında da Kore restoranı teklifi var.
Yani hangi gün olur?
Onu konuşmuştuk.
Ama
zaten.
Koreli'de şey yapmamız
Bana
lazım.
sormadılar da.
Rezervasyon yapmamız lazım. O kadar kişi.
Cumartesi, pazar yapmıyorlar, onun için yapıyorlar.
Bizim
Our exam is-
Cuma değildi galiba. Çarşamba günü. Çarşamba
O zaman
günü
yapıyorlar.
yaparlar.
Tamam. Çarşamba after the exam right away or for dinner?
Sınavdan sonra
1.30'da mısın eksiniz?
1.30'da 1 saat koysak hadi 2.30 3.
Sınavdan sonra.
Okay, 3:30. After our finals at 3:30 we are going to Koreli for the ones who would like to come. Eat Korean food, we will be there. Okay, let's go back to competition law. After making that much of a plan, let's continue with the facts of life. In competition law, there is a difference between unfair competition and competition law. And actually the law that they have been regulated is also different. Competition law is a field of itself, and it regulates the competition within the state in general. It is more have an economic perspective. It is related to the economics of the state. However, unfair competition is different. In unfair competition, there are two competitors, and one of them is using dirty techniques to beat the other competitor. However, in competition law as well, there are techniques that are not considered as legal, which we can say dirty way of competing. However, these are distorting the economy of the state, not damaging only one party, but technically causing a problem within the market of the state. So in general, competition is required, necessary for state from economical perspective. It's necessary for the welfare, which increases the efficiency, and it's also creates in a way a good position for consumers as there is a competition, so better products are revealed. The prices can get less, and so in a way it helps us the state's economy to prosper. However, competition rules are needed in the market. Why? Because we try to make everything with our honor, protecting our honor, but we are quite honorable creatures in that sense. Therefore, we are not sometimes acting as we're supposed to act, and we are trying to act as witty as possible, but this doesn't work. Therefore, we are regarded as a part of it that we should in a way protect the customers and consumers from the market getting dirty. So competition law is a branch of law, built-in rules established with the aim to protect the competition within the market for goods and services. That's the classical, typical definition of it. The acts and transactions of undertakings that they are getting into certain acts, and these economic activities in the market for goods and services are generally grouped under 3 headings, which are prohibition agreements, which means that the decisions and concerted practices restricting competition between undertakings. You are not allowed to do this and that. This is a prohibition agreement. Abuse of a dominant position by an undertaking. So one party can be having a dominant position in the market, and they might be abusing it. And there is a control on mergers and acquisitions, so that you won't let one party to get you can get a dominant position, but not an abusive position. We already talked in the mergers and acquisitions about that, like there might be certain possibilities to merge in other positions, but when you're becoming, creating like a cartel, it is not allowed. Geleceğiz, o terimler bende de karışıyor bazen. There is a code, an act, called as the Protection of Competition. And it says that the purpose of this act is to prevent agreements, decisions, and practices preventing, distorting, or restricting competition in the market. Because when you make an agreement, for example, like a price fixing, you are actually restricting and distorting the competition within the market. And to ensure the protection of competition by performing the necessary regulations and provisions to this end. So we have competition in the market for the sake of the rest of the public, but if it's somehow with agreements with certain acts, in a way it has been distorted or affected, then we will be having a negative consequences for that. Therefore, in this code, it's regulated, for example, any kind of agreements, practices, and decisions between all kind of undertakings operating in or affecting markets for goods and services within the borders of Turkey, which can prevent, distort, or restrict competition. Şimdi you will be thinking like how it happens. It happens. And sometimes thinking like people are doing something good, but they are doing something bad. I've just like friends working in this field, and they give such examples that people are acting while they are thinking they are wise. They are actually causing this, distorting the competition within the market. For example, they are all, I'm not going to give an example from the real one, but I will find another example. Therefore, let's say that they are all cologne producers. They sit on a table and they say that from now on we won't be selling cologne not under from this price. It is a price fixing agreement, and they are considered illegal. Siz bir grup ana kolonya üreticisi bir araya gelip kolonya üreticileri birliği olarak biz kolonyalarımızı bundan sonra 5 liradan aşağı, birim fiyatından aşağı satmayacağız diye price fixing yapamazsınız. Yasak. Bunu yaptığınız anda çok büyük cezası var. Bunu çok normal bir şeymiş zannediyor insanlar bazen ve bunu yazılı halde yapıyorlar. Daha çok başlarına bela açıyorlar. Şimdi bunu tabii kapalı kapılar arkasında yapanlar da var. Yani not with an official document. They come together and this is what you do most of the time when you make a market search as well. You see the products a certain price level and you're not selling under. This is different than Okay, any of us won't sell it underneath is different. Questionlar var mı kızlar?
Hocam devlet ama kendi mesela bazı ürünler için
Ha.
belirliyor. Onlar da belki bazen o birlikleri de anlaşmaya veriyorlar. Devletten ona
That
göre
is different, yeah.
belirliyorlar o zaman.
So when this is not price fixing, for example, the state reveals a certain, for example, during onun adı ekmekte oluyor da örnek vereceğim, fındık. Hazelnut. In a hazelnut production, for example, the government says that I will be getting the hazelnut from this price. So they are setting a certain price and the rest, of course, left to the market, like whether to get it above or underneath if you want to sell it. However, in the bread production as well, these are regulated because bread is a good that is consumed by everybody. Is actually state is trying to reduce the prices and allow the certain threshold for it. You can find more expensive bread. However, what state does for that perspective is that they have produces, for example, municipalities has bread production which they sell for a less price, isn't it? A cheaper price. Onlar da öyle yapıyorlar yani. But this is not considered as price fixing. Price fixing biraz daha farklı artık. Markete başka girişe izin vermiyorsun. Şimdi öbür tarafta bir sürü competitor var. Burada siz en büyük üreticiler bir araya geliyorsunuz. Şimdi ekmeği siz kendiniz evde de yapabileceğiniz bir şey sonuçta yani. Onlar, these are not considered as price fixing for bread or similar things as there are more competitors can enter to the market. And also, for example, the bread producers are not liking the production of they don't like the production that the municipalities did because they are selling to a cheaper price. Onlar da belediyenin ekmeğini sevmiyorlar çünkü daha ucuza satıyor belediye. However, here is what they do is that as they are already dominant in the market and they are deciding to sell to a certain price or certain quantity, not more than certain quantity. So you know that when there is a lack of demand and tersi neydi? Supply. Çok güzel sevgilisiz. Supply, so it also raises the prices, isn't it? They know, and you also know the economics better than I do, so they manipulate the economic structure of the state. And this is not beneficial to anyone other than them. Therefore, then the state involves and says that if I just somehow see such a thing, I will intervene, and I will stop and I will fine you. You will see later the fines. In Turkey, it's also high, but I think in Europe it is higher. So the second one is that you are abusing the dominant power as a dominant position in the market. Also, all legal transactions and behavior in nature of mergers and acquisitions that can cause to create a dominant position in the market or strengthening existing dominant position, which significantly decrease the competition as a result. I always give the example, for example, saying that Turkish Airlines buying the Pegasus, it won't be allowed. However, Turkish Airlines can have another company, can buy another airline from another country. Or let's assume that if we had another company, they might buy that, still have a competition. Maybe ona da izin vermeyebilirlerdi gerçi. So, what is required, like there are specifics that is set in the Article 5 that it says that there are 4 requirements which have to be satisfied for an agreement to be granted exemption from that is that ensuring new developments and improvements or economic or technical development in production or distribution of goods and in the provision of services benefiting the consumer from above mentioned. So somehow you signed a contract, but it's helps the economy plus helps the other people, helps the consumers, not eliminating competition in a significant part of the relevant market. You somehow made a contract and it's not causing any troubles in the market because you can make certain agreements with the competitors and so you have to know the limits and the margins of it where you can work with it and not limiting competition more than what is compulsory for achieving the goals set out in the subparagraphs A and B. Of course, you have to make the arguments that what you're doing is not causing that. So the agreements for limiting the competition are called there might be examples like cartel agreements and other agreements limiting the competition. Şimdi notlarım açımda atladığım bir şey var mı? So in cartel agreements, you know that in there you can have a price fixing, market allocation, restriction of supply, or imposing quotas and collusive bidding in tenders, which means that you know the competitors that enter to the bidding, and you're saying that, okay, let me get the bid to this price, and we will share the benefits out of it. O da yapabiliyor insan. Also, what it causes is that it causes dysfunctioning in the market, which we don't want, and it also affects the welfare of the consumers as a result. So, thus the prices artificially setting about competitive equilibrium, it distorts that equilibrium, leads to bad quality, bad prices, also causes inflation. Who wants inflation? And it causes a lot of problems, therefore we don't want it to happen. And in order to stop that, so when it happens is that we say that there are fines that can be introduced to the undertaking. There will be fines, administrative fines, fines imposed on executives with decisive roles in the formation of cartels. Kişilere de burada, oh siz buna girmişsiniz diye güzel ceza veriyor. Jail sentence, hapse atılabiliyorlar ve they will pay for the damages that they have caused in that. Also, leniency method denen bir şey var. Şimdi bunu bir anlatayım. We will see whether it works or not. It says that detecting cartels which by nature operate in secret is facilitated, and the first undertaking to disclose is like whistleblowing. If you come up first, you will have less fine or no fine. İspiyoncuya teşvik arkadaşlarınızdan gelen. It's this. So technically, most of the time that is done by the employees working there. It is called whistleblowing, leniency method veya whistleblowing de diyoruz aslında buna. There, it's such a bad thing. You shouldn't. I mean, you shouldn't do cartelling, but if it happens, it happens. Leniency, L-E-N-I-E-N-C-Y. Leniency gibi. Yes, like whistleblowing. There are other agreements, like agreements between competitors. This is, I think, quite obvious. However, if those type of agreements are beneficial for the public, we are okay with it. But if they are distorting the competition and the economics and the state and causing inflation and causes this snowball effect, we don't want that. There will be vertical agreements. For example, you're selling bottled water. You're not making agreement with bottled water producers, but you're making a deal with bottle producers for the prices of the plastic bottles. So this technically increases the money, like the cost of bottled water. It's a vertical agreement, not horizontal, but it's a vertical agreement.
Making agreement with supplier, I guess.
In a way, but not in the one supplier. But if it's in the production line, you need, for example, you're selling clothes. You are not making, let's say not clothes, but you are selling ice cream, for example, and they need a specific trucks to be transferred. So you are not making any deals with milk producers, package producers, but you're deciding that, okay, I will make a special agreement with special carry, that they have a special cars for carrying with a cold storage, and you're raising the prices like this or not allowing them to carry others' goods. O da yani diyorsun ya, ben kartel anlaşması yapmıyorum, ben kendi kompetitörlerime yapmıyorum anlaşmayı diyorsunuz ama alttan alta bütün piyasayı çeviriyorsunuz. Ona da diyor devlet, yani bu tek uyanık sen değilsin diyor. Herkes bunu yapıyor diyor. Dealership agreements is also possible. This, for example, a lot of people keep telling me that what happens, for example, that we all know, if you're selling Coca-Cola, you're not selling Pepsi. They can make this type of a dealership agreement. However, if this dealership agreement creates a dominant position in the market, they will be eliminated by the state later-wise. It can also happen at the beginning as well. Depends.
Hocam sevgilenme. Bizim bir tanıdığımız futbol sahası işletiyordu bir
Hı hı.
yere. Arda'nın dondurmalarını satıyordu. Arda kendi dondurucularında başka hiçbir şey tutulmasına izin vermiyormuş. Örneğin diyelim yaz geçti, o dondurucuyu kapatıyormuş. Sen kışın o dondurucunun içinde başka bir ürünü saklayıp o amaçla kullanmana izin vermiyormuş Arda.
Because they are also your friend gave an example from Algida that they are giving a specific storage coolers for ice creams and they are not allowing others to use it or any other material to be actually stored in it. This is not against, because most of the time what they do with this kind of things is that they are giving it for free. And this is the condition for it. They all know, they are better lawyers than I do. So they know how to technically to get around with that. But sometimes they fail as well. Onlar da ya abi yırtarız bu işten. Ya, mahkeme diyor ki it's not working in this way. However, in that case, most of the time the deals comes up like that. The storage unit is free, but the conditions of using it this. İstiyorsan dondurma, çünkü it's like very a good deal. Çünkü gelen dondurmanın yanında su da alıyor, bunu da yapıyor falan filan. Sizin için de iyi bir satış oluyor. Cartel agreements. Of course you say that kartel bir numara, en büyük cehennemden çıkan çılgın Türk. Bileniniz var mı bilmiyorum. You're too young for that. Karteli bilen var mı, şarkıcı kartel grubunu? Karteli bilmemek.
Yes, from German.
Yes, some of them are Germans, yani Turkish Germans. It's a kind of a mixed group. Bizim rebelist zamanlarımızdı. Yani bizim için çok rebelist bir şeydi kartel. Bir bakın derim. However, it's not the music group that I'm talking about, the cartel. Cartel agreements are generally agreements that you're causing. Hatta böyle bir şarkı bu. Kartel, bir numara, en büyük cehennemden çıkan çılgın Türk. It's the first rap song that we have. Ah, you never know. So what you have to keep in mind in the cartel agreements is that we are coming together and we are saying that we will form a group and it will be a special club and we won't be allowing any others to be included. And we will be actually as we will be forming that group, that we will not allowing the competition, increase their profit by controlling the market, as we have a cartel agreement together. So what happens is that we already talked about, like there are certain, the agreements can be between competitors. There will be vertical agreements, as I said, with different agreements within the different lines of the production, which you don't probably technically think at the first time as a specifies as a competitor at the moment, but somehow you included in that. And as I said, the dealership agreements, of course, there are dealership agreements. You can sign dealership agreements. However, if dealership agreements is in a way that are causing disrupting the competition, then they will be also not allowed by law. Burada hep en önemli olan şey sonuca bakıyoruz. Diyoruz ki eğer bu bir şekilde bir süre sonra piyasanın dengelerini bozacak hale gelirse ya bunları eliminate ediyoruz. Baştaki amacın bu olmadığını savunabilirsiniz tabii ki. Yani siz dealership agreement'ta you won't need that. There are, let's say that the fines for this and the consequences of that is hard. They're called hardcore restrictions in that sense. The reason behind that is, as they are distorting the competition within the whole country, they will be actually required to do that. Ben buraya yazmışım, slaytlarda var. Onu görürsünüz nasıl yazıldığında. Hani şu şey, whistleblower olan nasıl yazılıyor diye. Slaytlarda var for the ones. İkincinin sonunda yazıyor. And what else? Heavy fines var. For example, let's give an example from this. In 2010, de bunlar geçmiş zamanın paralarıyla kesilen cezalar. Bunu okurken şimdi ben zorlanacağım çünkü hayatımda bu kadarlı euro okumamış olabilirim yani. LCD panel producers actually decided to operate a cartel within the Europe. Of course, they not said that we are cartel, but they decided that they won't be selling LCD panels under a certain price or limiting the production of it to a certain limit, and it's as it's affected the buyers of television, computers, and other products and harmed the competition with the European Union. They have been fined to, şimdi bu 648 million euros. Bunu çarpmıyorum ben. Beceremem zaten. Şu anki matematiğim buna hiç yeteceğini zannetmiyorum.
648 million 900.
Şimdi bir sonraki daha fena. Onu nasıl okuyacak hiç bilmiyorum.
1 billion.
1 million billion 383 million euros for car glass manufacturers that are actually did a cartel agreement. Onlar price fixing yapmış da olabilir, hatırlayamıyorum. But the 2007 Otis Köhne, Schindler and ThyssenKrupp, which are the four big groups of producing elevators and escalators, they have actually decided that they won't be selling, they did a price fixing, elevators and escalators. Specifically, actually, what they did is so stupid in a way that they made a agreement between each other for the elevators and escalators that they will be selling to European Union itself for their premises. Avrupa Birliği'nin kendi binalarında kullanılmak için asansör ve yürüyen merdivenlere ihtiyaçları var. Bunların 4'ü ihaleye girecekler, yani alım yapılacak falan. Diyorlar ki şunun altına satmayalım diye bir anlaşma yapmışlar. Bu da ortaya çıkıyor. Var Avrupa Birliği'ne yapmayın değil mi? Biri akıllılar. Çünkü adamların en çok sevdiği şey, yani çok competition law'u çok iyi düzenliyorlar Avrupa Birliği'nde. Bu aklınızda olsun, ileride çalışmak isterseniz bu alanda. Çünkü biliyorsunuz Avrupa Birliği bir ekonomik topluluk da olduğu için oradaki competition'ı korumanız lazım. Yani çünkü bir ülke etkilenmiyor, ülkeler etkileniyor. Bir de bunlar Avrupa Birliği'nin kendi kurumlarına satarken price fixing yapmaya kalkmışlar. Hiç komisyon gözlerinin yaşına bakmadı yani. Bunu okusanız çok eğlenceli bir case. Hiç gözlerinin yaşına bak, yapmıyoruz, etmiyoruz falan diyor ama hiç öyle değil. Ya, oturup bir anlaşma imzalamışlar. For the maintenance agreement for that. And what happened is that they paid 992 million euros as a fine only. Because bir de öyle.
Hocam
Yeah.
Hani mühendisler odası falan mühendisler için minimum maaş bu olmalı diye falan belirliyor ya.
It is not price fixing.
Yani onun altında maaş verenlere mühendisler odası dava falan açabiliyor mu yoksa?
Onun altında what happened? Mühendisler onun altında maaş verince ona çok karışamıyorlar herhalde. With mühendisler I'm not so sure. With architects I'm not so sure that their chamber that it says that they won't be employed under a certain salary is possible or not. But what I can say from the lawyer's perspective, we have a set bar association list for the prices that we can get for each case. Öyle bir mesela bizim de price fixing'imiz var. The reason behind that, how we legitimize it, is that we are saying that we are giving a certain type of a service, and that service requires to be at least setting a minimum for like price-wise. You can get more if the other party agrees, but you cannot do an agreement less than that. You can at least need to get the minimums for it's set by the bar association for lawyers, for example. Oralarda birazcık daha oradaki piyasanın da korunmasını istiyorsunuz. Çünkü çok avukat var, aldığınız hizmetin kalitesini çözebilmek adına en azından hepsinin standart, hani minimum bu. Üstüne çalışmak isteyen üstüyle çalışabilir ama o zaman çünkü herkes bir davayı atıyorum ben 1000 liraya bakarım diyor ama siz bundan zarar gören oluyorsunuz o zaman. Çünkü iyi mi bakacak, kötü mü bakacak, o mu olacak, bu mu olacak? En azından herkes minimum bilirse ona göre hareket eder deniyor. Undertaking holding such position in their markets, for example, somehow the position that you hold in the market, it prevents the effective competition being maintained to the relevant market by affording it to the power to behave to an appreciable extent, power to have an appreciable, bunu yanlış okuduğuma çok eminim şu anda, independent of its competitors, customers, and ultimately of consumers. So what happens is that somehow you're in the market and the others are refraining to get into the market, isn't it? You became a like monopoly, you're holding a monopoly without asking for it. So when you have such a market power or the ability to profitably raise prices significantly above the competitive level for quite some time. Of course, dominance is not unlawful. You can be a market dominant and have setting the prices for markets. Buyurun. Hoş geldiniz. Size yer var mı bilmiyorum ama buyurun. Artık sıkışacaksınız. Nereye nasıl sığarsınız bilmiyorum. Masaya oturabilirsiniz veya araya oturabilirsiniz. Arkadaşlarınız evlerine... Neyse, they are solving their problems between each other. So, however, dominant firms has the responsibility not to impair competition through their conduct. Buraya çok güzel bir şey. Why? It is bad. It is bad for the market, it is bad for the consumers, we don't want that. However, in that kind of a case, sometimes the government can interfere, but rarely. The most recent example that you might know about is, for example, European Union again fined Microsoft because they are not they are not allowing the Google as a Google Chrome to be included within the settings or something, and it comes with the Microsoft settings and so. Also, actually work with the IBM, as IBM comes with Microsoft, and you are not able to build in any other software system before, and they have been fined as well.
What about Türk is a monopoly, and I think their fees are so high.
Türk.
Yes.
That's your arkadaş is asking. Your friend is asking you, for the ones who are not able to hear, is that what happens with the Türk is that there is this special places that you take your car to be checked in every 2 years for whether they are fitting the standards to be on the road or not safely. That monopoly is created by the state itself.
Zaten oradan çok var.
State oradan para alıyor çünkü.
Zamanında sigarada olanlar gibi tekrar unutuyoruz.
And also the other part of it, for example, is that you can still... Ay, yapmayacağız arkadaşlar. Sandalyeyi çekseydiniz oraya.
Ne yapıyorum?
Burası çok karıştı arkadaşlar. So what you have in mind is that the state gives the monopoly right to Türk in there because they are getting money out of it. But what you have in these stations as an option is that, for example, you have exhaustion emission control. You don't have to do it there. You can get it from somewhere else. Competition'a açık oradan. Mesela diyor ki benim buradaki tesiste, ama herkes gidip orada yaptığını çok kolay yani, gelmişken orada yapılsın. Çünkü aldığınız diğer yerden kabul edecekler mi etmeyecekler mi, onların nasıl, çünkü bir de hani official bir yerden almanız gerekiyor. O standartta yapan bir yerden. Ona girmeyin diyor, diyorsunuz ki işte 70 lira şimdi gideceğim bir yerde yan tarafta yaptırsam kaç, 70 şimdi ne kadar olmuştur onu da bilmiyorum. Son 70 lira.
Yol masrafı var, kilometrede 2 lira yapıyor.
Kilometrede 2 yakıyorsak gene benzin oldu 30. Neyse buna girmiyorum. That will take the... Neredeyse 28 en son.
28,5 şu an.
Neyse.
Aynen.
İşte.
Sonra
So acquisition over certain threshold, what happens is that you can buy certain things at a certain price on a certain level, and which means that control may acquire through the rights contracts or other instruments which grant the power to exercise decisive influence over an undertaking. So only those mergers and acquisitions involving a permanent change in the control are considered as not permissible under Article 7. And also merger of undertakings which are within the same economic entity, which are controlled by the same person or undertakings, or an acquisition taking place between these undertakings, do not lead to change of control. They do not fall under Article 7. So let's say that Anadolu Group has the beverage line and they are producing, I don't know, now şimdi atıyorum bu kısmı. Coca-Cola ile yarıştıramam da mesela they are producing, they have two lines of juice production. Kapi ile bilmem neyi yapıyorlar. And they are the market leads, but they are produced within the same group of entity. So this won't be considered as, and later they decided to close Kapi and add it to their other juice production line. Yani Kapi'yi kapatıp veya işte Coca-Cola'nın hepsinin içine alıp karar veriyorlar. In that kind of a case, you are allowed to do that. Ama bir şekilde de yine market dominant hale geliyorsunuz.
Hocam peki yapsa bu merger and acquisition, yani örneğin diyelim ben içecek üreticisiyim. Marketin %90'ını şişe üreten kişiyi satın alıyorum. O zaman
İşte
benim
olmuyor,
orada-
vertical agreement oluyor işte. You're not allowed to do that. Siz kaçırdınız orayı. Geç gelince öyle. Böyle
Hocam
zaten.
lütfen.
Ama evet, artık tabağımız, bardaklarımız ve çatallarımız da var. They often bring efficiency, only operate problems in exceptional circumstances for sure, but it happens. But I said that, as you might remember, when I teach mergers and acquisitions, you have to get a negative clearance certificate. Hatta Türkçesini hala garip bir Türkçesi vardı. Defterinizde vardı bir de onun için. Yazmıştım ben burada bir yere. Şimdi ben de defterde bulmam lazım. Menfi tespit belgesi almanız lazım. Negative clearance certificate that you have to take in order to do and proceed with the merger. So what is unfair competition? Şimdi, as we have left the competition law, now we are entering to another completely different field. Unfair competition is something regulated in Turkish Commercial Code between Articles 54 and 63. What is there is that we have two competitors that does job whatsoever. However, my practices actually causing negative effects on my other competitor. However, this is not, of course, when I enter to the market, eventually the others might get harm out of that, isn't it? Losing customers and so. But here, I am not competing with that person fairly. I think the name is quite clear about that, isn't it? I'm not competing fairly. Fairly yapmadığım yerde ne yapıyoruz? I am just like saying that their products are bad. Değil mi? Ürünleri kötü diyorum. I am just spreading rumors about the company. I'm paying influencers to say that their products are bad. Yeni, new versions. Updated myself. So in a way, what I do is that establish a fair and uncorrupted competition is on favor of all participants in the market, not only market within. Gidip çıkın artık o mevzu, it's okay. Misleading acts and commercial practices. So I'm acting in a misleading way as proceeding with a commercial practice that it misleads the consumers that the products are bad and causing the trouble to the other party, which we don't want. Or between providers and customers, or to contrary to the good faith in other forms, are unfair and considered illegal. So what we need for that is that if we just like separate it to the segments, we can say that X shall be misleading or violating the rules of ethics and the bona fide principles, iyi niyet kurallarına aykırı davranmak, good faith'e aykırı davranmak. X or commercial practices that it's from that is causing that, and also X shall be among competitors, providers, or customers as well that causes that. So what is prohibited from that perspective is that X and commercial practices that are contrary to the good faith are considered illegal, and they are actually regulated in Turkish Commercial Code. As far as you might remember, when I told you that those articles are also applicable to craftspersons and people, unfair competition kurallarından faydalanabiliyorlardı.
Prudent business personal.
Tam not that, ama zaten prudent business, basiretli insan zaten unfair competition yapmaz diye bağlayabilirim, but not directly. Ama burada şöyle bir şey var. Unfair competition kuralları herkes için geçerli. Unfair competition ticaret kanununda düzenlendiği için hani commercial matter considered, even though the parties are not considered as commercial entities, as it's a subject matter that is regulated in commercial code, it will be considered as commercial matter.
Biliyorsunuzdur belki hocam.
Vardı, hoş bir şey var. Herkes var dedirten de.
Lezzetli reklam yapmıştı çıkarttı.
I didn't know that.
Ülker çikolatalı gofret sevmeyen diye reklamı var ya. Ekşi Alışveriş'in gofretinin reklamında da herkese var dedirten lezzetli reklamını yapmıştı.
Güzel bir şey.
Ama onun fair'e girmiyor tamamen yani. Sadece
Not direct, it is a general. Like siz diyene kadar ben I haven't seen the connection between them. Siz demeseniz aklıma gelmezdi.
reklamlar akılda kalıyor ya, o direkt şey olmuştu.
So advertisement and selling methods, contrary to the good faith and other illegal acts, will be considered as that, but here is not illegal. But if you just somehow saying that, therefore, as I said before, in advertisements, we said that when my cleaning product is making the cleanest, I cannot name the other one. I can suggest, for example, that's what I have encountered, for example, which one? Şeyde vardı. İste gelsin değil mi? Şu şeyin oynadığı neydi ya? Güven Kıraç'ın reklamlarında oynadığı. Şu şey kıvırcık saçlı kızla. Simit geliyor, hangisi taze seçmeye çalışıyor ikisinin arasında.
İste gelsin galiba.
İste gelsin
Ha, Kıvırcık Hasan Cakkaya'dan bahsediyorsun.
Yok, erkek değil, kız.
Ama iste gelsin o galiba.
İste
Biri
gelsin.
gelsinler söylüyor. Diğeri
Birisi,
diğer marketten söylüyor.
diğeri Senal Market diyor. Senal Market,
Migros.
sanal market.
Hı hı.
Aslında
Onlar
o
da
çok
yakalamış.
bigdi. Ben de onu çok, hatta dedim yani Migros'un yerinde olsam çok büyük olay çıkartırdım
Hocam mesela
bunlara.
yurt dışında şey var, yanlış hatırlamıyorsam Pepsi'nin bir reklamı var. Çocuk otomattan Pepsi almak istiyor. İlk kola alıyor. Altına destek yapıyor. Pepsi'nin numaraya basmak
Evet.
için kullanıyordu. O da aslında
Unfair
kötülemeyi
competition.
biliyor değil mi?
Aferin.
Unfair.
Çünkü ayaklar altına alıyorsun ürünlerini.
These are not, we are talking about commercial practices in general, like in advertisement sector. That's why I told you that they are not officially made by those companies. They said that we haven't paid for those advertisements. They're done by our suggested good customers that they come up with such an advertisement idea. We are not paying for those things. That's how it's done. So if you have relatively edgy advertisement about trashing the other companies, that in that scenario you say that I haven't paid for that, so I don't have a connection with that, but somehow you do. So to direct someone to breach and terminate an agreement is also prohibited. You can say that go and sign a contract with them or cancel your contract with the other firm, so come and have a contract with me. It's also unfair competition. Benefit from the work products of someone in unauthorized way, which means that you are producing counterfeited products is also unfair competition, or producing, not getting a trademark from them, patent license from them, you're producing the same product, it's also not allowed. To disclose the production and business secrets illegally is also, değil mi? Yani, officially it's not possible. Disregard the working requirements. So there are like certain elements that production lines should require, and of course they are all cost something, and you are actually eliminating certain issues for that, like certain levels, and making benefit out of it is also considered that. Also, to say is not, doesn't mean anything. Transaction conditions, to setting transactions or proceeding with transactions that are contrary to the good faith. You are making illegal things in that sense. Birkaç şey kaldı. The results of unfair competition, that there are civil results and criminal results. Civil results is that you can get a declaratory judgment which means that they are making unfair competition. So the court officially recognizes that they are making unfair competition. And also you can make the court to decide them to stop that type of an act. You can ask for restitution, which means that to pay the damages that it caused you because of that kind of a damage. And you can ask for compensation if it's monetary and non-monetary, non-pecuniary damages in that scenario, as that if somehow they have violated and caused trouble for your name in that regard as well, your trade name, your trademark, whatsoever. Within the trademark protection, we have something else to be protected there as well from that perspective. So we have a couple of different protection for different types of things, not only one. In the criminal result, that there is, when during the unfair competition, there can be imprisonment, depending on the type, not everything, but sometimes we can have imprisonment and we can have a judicial fine as well.
Öğrencilik hayatımın son dersi.
Benim son
Benim cuma var dersi.
Mezun olmuş gibi. Buyurun. Öykü Hanım bir şey mi söyleyeceksiniz? Ending note için mi kaldı?
Biz ağlayacağız bir saniye Öykü.
Aynen hocam ending istedi.
Tamam bir indirin. Şimdi diyelim endingciler bir kaldırsın. Şu endingleri aradan bir çıkaralım hemen. Şimdi kaldıranlar kaldırsın. Ending yapmak isteyen. Kaldı mı endingci? Bir Öykü Hanım kalmış. Öykü Hanım dersin son ending için. Floor is yours. Ama sesiniz kapalıyken olmuyor. Son
Çok
ending.
pardon. Heyecan yaptım hocam. Son ending ya. Çok sorumluluk altında hissettim kendimi. Okay.
What was the most important? I saw slide'ımı da açayım orada gözüksün o zaman. Let's go for that. What was the most important thing that you have learned today?
Tamam. I think I think the most important thing that I learned today is the 3 elements of unfair competition.
Okay. What was the most confusing thing? Öykü Hanım son ending'i yapamıyor. Bağlantısı kötü.
Şöyle mi hocam?
Biraz yapmaya
Bir
çalışın.
veriye geçeyim mi?
Bir deneyin kısaca. Hemen. Hücre açın zaten kısa ending olacak ama
Okay.
kopmayın. Bekliyorum ben sizi burada. Öykü Hanım son
Tamam
ending'i
hocam.
çıkmam. Bir tek siz kalmışsınız zaten. Sınıfın geri kalanı yapmış zaten 18 kişi var. Bir de burası var.
Çok önemli. Geçen haftalarda 8 kişi kaldı. Bari
Ne?
derse gel yap. O orada yapamadı.
Biz yaptık ya.
Bilmiyorum yapmışsınızdır inşallah.
Yaptım hocam ben.
Benim belli kısa
İkisi de
olmuştu
yaptı.
galiba ama söylenmeyen bir şey söyledim.
Hocam öykü bağlantısı değil galiba.
Hareket ediyor şu an.
Öykü Hanım şu anda hareket ediyor mu? Şu anda bir deneyin.
Geliyorum hocam hemen.
Tamam. Hücresele geçecek. Bekliyoruz Öykü. Heyecan. Biz burada şey yapıyoruz.
Ben
böyle.
iyi ben gideceğim daha ürün götüreceğim. Ama son dersin ağlayayım duygusallaşayım.
Ağlayıp duygusallar dışarıda.
Ama işte yemek dersin sonra hemen bitiyor işte.
Hemen gideceğim iyi geldi.
Tamam. İstiyorsanız şimdi gidin çünkü arkadaşlarınızla 4.30 dedik zaten bir kısım.
Hani...
Hani
Hocam sıkıntı yok. Ben duygusallaşayım.
tamam. Everybody wants to get emotional. Who is emotional? Who else? Oh, Öykü Hanım hadi ending note.
Geldi.
What was the most confusing thing?
I think the most confusing part is in the results of unfair competition. In civil results, there were compensation, and also in the criminal results, there were something as fine. I'm not sure if I know the difference between them because they are both in monetary, right?
Şey için mi soruyorsunuz? Unfair competition'a competition law'daki sonuçlar açısından mı?
Evet.
Yani tabii ki öncelikle we will be the first consideration is monetary, isn't it? Because one of them is money-wise is causing troubles within the statal system, and we need to compensate that from the earnings that you have made through that. And the other one is in the unfair competition, we have other troubles. monetary plus, it depends, like not all the time we will have jail sentence for that. For that, we need to have conditions as well, depending on the practice that you have chosen to do the unfair competition. That's why it's the difference. Şimdi hatırlamaya çalışıyorum. Competition'da var mıydı imprisonment? Çok emin olamadım ya. Competition law tarafından, yani unfair'da var da competition'a bir daha bakmam lazım. Artık ezbere konuşmayı sevmiyorum.
Sınavda çıkmaz demek.
Ha, sınavda çıkmaz demek ki de arkadaşlarınız yorum yaptı, sormayalım. Artık çözülmüş sistem. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay, teşekkürler Öykü Hanım. So thank you for the rest of the class as well. Thank you for participating, being the part of this class for everyone. For some of you, it's the last class. Hadi ağlıyoruz. For some of you, you will be still here. So as I said, we can still always keep in touch through the Instagram. If you want to, you can add me and I will add you back from Instagram. If you want to be friends with me, we can become friends. Now we will be meeting with your friends. I said 4:30 as we will be probably making the class till 4, but I finished early. So we will start early. For the ones who will be able to come, we will be waiting for them. I think you already have a WhatsApp group to reach out to other people as well. Somehow you do reach. Let's say that at 4, at least we can start at 4. Okay, we will see what we have and we can